Now, I can understand why people may be wondering how come I haven't made the NASCAR '07 10th anniversary review, and honestly, I was going to make it at one point, but real life has really been taking a toll on me for the past few years. I mean, hell, as I write this, it's less than a week until my junior year of college starts, and I still haven't signed up for some of my classes yet! Whoopsie! I could just cop out of that video and say that it's the exact same as NASCAR '06 The End or something, but that really isn't true. There are a few distinct nuances between NASCAR '06 and NASCAR '07, as well as NASCAR '08, that I'd like to touch on at some point. But for now, we are going to take a look at the latest game that I've missed the 10th anniversary of, NASCAR '08. This game is 10 years old. I still remember getting it for Christmas in 2007, rushing to my room to play it, and promptly tossing it aside to return to NASCAR '07. No, seriously, I didn't like NASCAR '08 when it first came out, and even without an updated roster, I stuck to NASCAR '07 for a really long time. Of course, I warmed up to the game a bit more when I finally got used to the new driving model and lack of teammate swapping. Yeah, they took out the biggest feature from NASCAR '06 and '07. Now all you have are the teammate commands that never worked in the first place. Now that's a real big letdown, but let's not dwell on that too much. Let's talk about the gameplay itself. NASCAR 8 clearly has had an upgrade since 2007. Cars are way looser than they've ever been before. You can actually flip your vehicle just by aggressively serpentining down a straightaway. Serpentining. I don't think that's a word. And neither does Microsoft, apparently. Anyway, the point is this game's physics engine is a bit ridiculous. Now this does make for some really spectacular wrecks, but we've seen plenty of reality-bending incidents in previous EA NASCAR games. This physics engine just allows you to execute them at any time, rather than when the game is feeling it. Let's talk about career mode. Fight to the top is gone for the first time since 2005, and in its place is a new mode called Earn Your Stripes. Since when was NASCAR a prison simulator? Earn Your Stripes is just fight to the top with a different name. The idea is still the same, start from the bottom and work your way up. Unless, of course, you impress Kenny Wallace, in which case, straight to the penthouse we go! Yeehaw! Before you start a new career, you're given the option to run all-state qualifiers, which was a feature introduced in NASCAR '07. The idea is that you run a few pre-selected tracks and try to run quick lap times in order to start your career off in a better ride. So instead of, fighting your way to the top, you can simply start at the top and run for a cup championship right away. Maybe that's why they changed the name of career mode, since actually fighting your way to the top is not the incentive that the game actually gives you. I've never liked the idea of all-state qualifiers because of this. I can see how this feature would be really useful if you've already made your way through the career mode once and you wanted to start all over again, New Game Plus style. But from the very moment you remove the plastic wrap from the game, you're allowed to bypass 3/4 of the game's career mode. Just feels wasteful. Once you've completed or skipped all-state qualifiers, you're given a contract opportunity, just like in 2005 and 2006. This seems about right. Difference is that when you go to sign that contract, you'll find that is the only thing you're allowed to do regarding what cars or trucks you're going to be driving. Gone from '05 and '06 especially is the option to open or buy a team. Throughout the whole game, you're a contract driver, running under someone else's scrutiny. Sure, your sponsors would expect you to run well in previous NASCAR games, but back then you could just sign some other sucker on and continue to underperform. Here, you have to bring your A game every single week, otherwise you'll end up out of a ride and with nothing to fall back on. That's really disappointing. Being able to open up a team in NASCAR 2005 was really fun, from being able to design the car from the manufacturer up and wheel and deal with sponsors. Granted, you couldn't close the team once you have it and go back to being a contract driver, but at least if you needed to change the scenery, you could swap the stickers and numbers around and have a whole new experience. And I probably don't even need to mention outright buying teams in 2006 and 2007. Teams in those games were so expensive they seemed like endgame rewards for winning lots of races and smartly managing your money. Not to mention being able to open up new cars and race alongside or as some of your favorite drivers. Owning teams was such a thrill in EA NASCAR games, and taking them out of '08 really took a lot of the draw that career mode had for me back in those days, and is a big reason why I went back to '07 right when I got '08. But, enough of that. Let's focus on what we've got. So, once you sign a contract, you're required to fulfill certain contract Santa clauses in order to stay on the team. These clauses range from finishing in the top 10, keeping the car in good shape, or simply completing races. If you fail once, it's okay. But if your screen fills entirely with red X's, then your team owner is going to have some harsh words for you. Fail to complete any Santa clauses for your contract and you're out of a ride, and that contract vanishes forever. At least until you win a cup championship. This can be a real challenging or brutal mechanic depending on how you look at it. On one hand, you need to be on top of your game at all times, which forces you to be perfect. And that should make you a better driver. On the other hand, if some douchebag decides to ruin your race, or if you have a slight hiccup in one corner late in the going, you can find yourself out of the ride and out of the title hunt before you can even blink. This gets even more intense once team owners expect you to get top 10s in every single race. Are you kidding? You'll always have a back door to the problem of underperforming, however. If you're coming up to a race you expect to do poorly in, and you need to run well for your contract to stay alive, what you can do is simply go to the contracts menu and release yourself from the contract. Then you re-sign immediately back into that contract, and suddenly, your clauses are reset, giving you a clean slate. Yes, that is a really cheaty way of keeping a contract alive, but when you're on the knife's edge at all times due to the fact that no money you earn can be put towards buying a backmarker team just to stay afloat for a few more weeks, this can be your only way out sometimes. It was a really poor decision to go to contract only for career mode, and I think the only way to save it would have been to give you far more contract options. You'll find yourself driving the same cars for most of your career, and sure, contracts were never really varietized back in the 05 and 06 days, but keep in mind that you could build your own car from scratch back then. Now you're stuck with what the game gives you. Sure, that is a lot more realistic than just being Bill Gates and dumping 20 million plus into Rick Hendrick's lap and taking over his entire operation, but in a video game, I feel it's a lot more appropriate, especially when it had been done just fine in years past. And what especially doesn't make sense about this is when you buy upgrades to your car, you keep those upgrades no matter what contract you're under. What? Okay, I think that's far more than enough dwelling on contract. Let's actually talk about the race. Controls are the same as they've been since 2006. Use the triggers to go fast and slow down. Left analog stick to steer, you know the drill. Allies and rivals return once again, but opponents are a lot less quick to get angry at you. NASCAR 2004 was brutal when it came to rivals. In some cases, just tapping someone would net you 60 rival points. Now you can bump and bang and hardly anyone will care at all. Seriously. You can blatantly dump a logo ally and he will still remain a logo ally through it all. This means you'll find yourself quickly becoming an ally with the entire field. If you spend 3 or 4 races cleanly passing the entire field, everyone will be asking you out on a date after the race ends. To be honest, over the years I've really grown on this driving model. Sure, it feels like you're racing inside of some Initial D NASCAR crossover at all times, but I feel like you really have a lot of control over the car with this physics engine. It's a lot easier to save a car than in any other EA game would have been a wreck, mostly because you know how it feels to be saving a car at all times. And to top it all off, nicking the apron won't cause you to spin like a top anymore, allowing you to make really aggressive moves without the worry of that happening. This does, however, make for some really easy abuse of these mechanics. Lots of tracks you can cling to the inside of the wall far away from the actual racing surface and still have lots of grip. I think the programmers actually forgot to program any car besides the wheel and modifiers, because you can take the flattest part of most any racetrack and run full throttle without a care. Unless, of course, you're at Red Ball, in which case... yeah. NASCAR 8 really, and I mean really, went in an entirely different direction from the previous game NASCAR 07 that it feels like 2 entirely different teams worked on either game. For example, from 2005 to 07, you worked your way through career mode with prestige points, which would unlock new contract opportunities and new series opportunities, while you could earn skill points during races in order to unlock Thunder Plates to use elsewhere in the game. NASCAR 08, on the other hand, has you use skill points earned during races to further progress your skills. Moving into a new level in any skill will bring about new contracts, as well as chances to move to a new series. Thunder Plates are unlocked through shiny new medallions now, which are basically goals that can only be accomplished once per race. The order in which you earn medallions are by finishing first in a race, passing 20 cars in a race, lapping 5 cars in a race, and finishing first in a race without using instant rewinds. We'll get to that in a minute. You have to perform those 4 feats of racing skill at every track in order to unlock all medallions. Once you've completed all 4 medallions at a single track, you have officially mastered the track. But all that does is allow you to start on the pole at that track in every race outside of career mode. Medallions earned in races are the only way to unlock Thunder Plates now, but there's so few Thunder Plates in NASCAR 08 that it really isn't worth it to run all those races just to unlock them all. I really didn't like the medallions in NASCAR 08. It doesn't feel like enough of a reason to run so many races just to unlock them all. For that matter, some tracks the medallions are nearly impossible to actually earn, like lapping 5 cars at restrictor plate tracks and road courses. This felt like a really forced means of getting players to keep running races or starting in the back in order to unlock all these medallions. And they do so little there really isn't an incentive to. Man, I'm a good 10 minutes into this review and I haven't even found anything really good to say about this game other than its physics engine. And to be honest, I don't really like it more than I do the physics engine of NASCAR 04 or 05. Let's keep talking about the races. If you have teammates, you can use the right analog stick to give them commands. Races start with the team command functions hidden, so you can play through the whole game without knowing they're even there. Sure, you can read through the in-game manual to figure it out, but who reads those? And since they took out the swap feature, all that's left are the seemingly useless follow and work with me commands that rarely, if ever, actually help you out in a race. The only thing that will actually help you during the race is the instant rewind feature. Pressing down on the select button during a race will literally rewind time, allowing you to run through a corner again or prevent a pesky caution from coming out. This is the first NASCAR game to feature instant rewind, and it's a feature that would be featured in NASCAR games all the way through NASCAR 15. It's a real game-breaking mechanic too. Most of the time when you run through instant rewind, when you come out, the AI will be running significantly slower than they were before, allowing you to easily move your way through traffic. Your Technics era NASCAR games would perfect this feature, allowing you to pinpoint the exact moment in time you wanted to retry from. But in NASCAR 08, you had to hold the button down and keep it down if you wanted to keep rewinding time. Otherwise, you'll just end up wasting your chance, and you'll have to wait until it fully recharges again. Did I just compliment you, Technics?
The end is nigh! The end is nigh! F***ing run away! The end is nigh!
It's a pretty harmless feature, all things considered. It's there, and you don't have to use it if you don't want to. It does come in handy during really long races, so no one stupid moment means you've wasted 4 hours for nothing. I bring up longer races because now you have a much better chance of actually completing them. NASCAR 08 has a new feature known as mid-race saves. This is a dream come true for lots of players who simply don't have the time to put together full races in one shot, as well as people who need to shut off their system at any given moment during any length race. I'd been asking for this feature for a long time leading up to NASCAR 08's release. I still remember trying to do a full Bristol race in NASCAR 2005 and having to leave my PS2 on for 2 nights straight, only for the power to go out with 20 or so to go. That's the kind of thing that draws you into Simple Plan and Hot Topic. Now those days are gone, but it's still a feature I never really used. You can save a race and forget about it, and NASCAR 8 will never remind you that you have a save race until you stumble into the load menu on accident, even if it's a career mode race. Hey, speaking of menus, let's get that out of the way. The NASCAR 08's menus are a lot like NASCAR 06's. The backgrounds have fading slideshows like in 2006, and most modes are laid out the same as before. The career mode menu is way different though. The full spread calendar is gone, and in its place is a month-by-month system with every race lined up right on top of each other. Unlike in NASCAR 2005 to 2007, there are no longer conflicting race dates, and race weekends have qualifying and the race together, allowing you to run all races in all 4 series in a season. Doing so unlocks a special paint scheme for Kyle Busch. Okay, it doesn't, but I bet you thought it did. I do like this more organized means of entering races. Sure, it's a lot less realistic, but it does allow you to have a lot less chance to accidentally skip races entirely that you wanted to enter. Looking at you, NASCAR 07. Once you get to the next highest level in a skill, you're given the opportunity to try out for the next license. In the old games, all you had to do was pass a test session and you were in. This time around, you need to run a test session and pass several cars before you can make it to the next level. I think this is a fine way of progressing through the series, but my biggest complaint is how you have to pay to enter them. Advancing in 2005 to 07 was free, but you have to put down 2 down payments into your future before you get there. And if you lose a license challenge, you have to pay again to try a second time. That can get a little tough if you have to put all of your life savings into a license test, lose it, and wait another 3 months before you get another shot. Even after completing the license challenge, you have to pass yet another testing session in order to unlock contracts. It's no fun. You may have noticed that I haven't mentioned charity races or showdowns, mostly because I'm trying to repress those memories into the back of my mind. Those are in this game, along with new telemetry sessions. Charity events are the exact same as years past, but doing good in them will net you massive amounts of skill points, so they're worth doing early in the game. Car telemetries are basically 10-lap test sessions in which you need to string together 5 consecutive laps with lap times within a second or so of each other. It can be a lot harder than you think given the tire fall-off in this game. Showdowns are done a little differently in this game. You can only run them if you have a rivalry strong enough. They're 3 laps in length and still are no-holds-barred street fights with no cautions. But they're far more rare, seeing as how it's so difficult to get rivals in this game with all the clean passing you do. After nearly every race, you'll get a text from Ace Moneymaker, I still can't believe that's his name, and he'll want you to run those races. Speaking of texts, those are the only messages you get in NASCAR 08 anymore. No more voice for old Ace. In fact, the phone menu is really scaled back from years past. It has even less depth than NASCAR 2005, which is saying a lot. The weekend games feature is gone as well as the ability to text random drivers. This may seem like a completely useless feature since texting people does absolutely nothing in NASCAR 06 and 07, but the novelty of sending a text to your childhood idol is something it just cannot be duplicated. My god, I've been rambling for so long and it feels like I've had very little positive to say about this game. They took so many features out that it feels so empty compared to 2006 and 2007. Sure, the driving model is fresh and it's nice to have the ability to stop any race and come back to it later. But they removed so much of what made NASCAR 06 and 07, as well as 2005 to an extent, so enjoyable to play through. You may have noticed something. I've been talking all about the PS2 version of NASCAR 08 this whole video, but I haven't even touched on the 7th generation console counterpart. 10th anniversary reviews have always been about placing myself in the year the game was made and using my many years of gaming experience, as well as current life experience, to take objective looks at the quality of a game when it was released. That means really digging into my childhood, and I didn't even get a PS3 until 2011, way after I'd moved on from 08. I did, however, get my hands onto the PS3 version of NASCAR 08, just to see what it was like. I have WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 for both PS2 and PS3 as well, and there's a few changes before those games, but at heart, they're essentially the same thing. I got NASCAR 08 for PS3 just to see how it looked in comparison to NASCAR 08 on PS2. I wonder if it's got the swap feature. Or maybe its online capabilities were a lot stronger. I guess the only way to find out is to pop the game in.
Come on, buddy, you can do it.
Wow. Wow. This is so bad. I honestly could find no redeeming qualities to this game. The cars look like they've been stretched like taffy, and making any sort of contact sends you into a 40-car pileup. And the career mode is a complete joke. You have to run what feels like thousands of tests just to get an opportunity in a car, and when you do, just brutalize the competition like no one's business. And these challenges aren't even fun. The physics model in this game is so wonky, I can't tell if I'm playing a racing simulator or Mario Kart. Through all their faults and limitations, the PS2 NASCAR games represent a golden age of NASCAR gaming. The PS1 games were okay, and NR 2003 is an entirely different beast, but NASCAR on PS2 is where it's at, and where it will always be at. EA really dropped the ball with NASCAR 08, but Heat Evolution, Eutechnics, and the PS3 version of this game really teach you to appreciate what you do have. It might not be perfect, but it can definitely be worse. I give NASCAR 08 6 out of 10 for gameplay, 7 out of 10 for graphics, 6 out of 10 for sound, and 6 out of 10 for replayability. There are better PS2 NASCAR games, and there's others you should definitely pick up before this one, but it's certainly a game you should experience at least once. Oh my god, it's like I've been rambling for so long now, and it feels like I said even nothing. Oh my god, I can't fucking be sarcastic. But in a video game, I feel it's a lot more appropriate, especially when it had been just... I'm just gonna start that whole thing over. Sure, that's a This does, however, make for some really easily abuse. This does make for, however, oh my fucking god. This does, however, make for some really easy abuse of these mechanics. Lots of tracks that you can cling to the inside wall. I can't talk. Lots of tracks you can easily... In fact, the phone menu is really scared. Fucking scared. The weekend games feature menu. What? What? It's has. And once you get to the next highest skill, progressing through a career mode isn't exactly as easy as 2005 to 07. Once you get to the next highest level, oh my god, what the fuck is this sentence? Once you get to the next highest level in a skill, you're given the ability, once you get to the next fucking highest level in a skill. Maybe that's why they changed the name of the career mode, since... Maybe. I do like this more organized menus. What? Means, not menus.